welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. Paul McClain here, and I got my good buddy Matt Smith with us. Matt, good to see you.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Paul.
You got it, man. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, this is one that's going to be like just, I think, value pack. I know value pack when it comes to a practical standpoint. So a lot of the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast, we really kind of dived into the mindset, thought process, belief systems, and attacked that to help you go out there and make it a better week. Today, we're going to go through rapid fire phone script objection, in-home objections, back and forth. So I'm going to throw you one, you throw me one back, and we'll kind of go back and forth and knock out as many as we can. And the thing is this, guys, like I believe that in this business, you know, you do need to have a level of studying to build your skill set. You know, for me, it was I'd go out there and I didn't think a whole lot throughout the working hours. If it was like, you know, 7 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night, I was on the phones, I was in the homes, I was attacking this thing to make money. But late at night and early in the morning, Matt, I was studying. You know, I remember having 7 no sales back to back and thinking like, man, this sucks. You know, this is discouraging, disappointing results. But that led me to going out in that same night, staying up from 9 to midnight when I got home, watching podcasts, writing down my script, and just being just a student, you know. And I went out there the next day, and I started to get the best result. It was like I went from the lowest low to one of the highest highs I had seen at that point in time in my career. And so I think that at the end of the day, guys, you want to go out there and attack, but taking a step back and listening to some audios and training and stuff like that, it definitely makes a big difference. And so hopefully this will be one that serves you well, where you can go back and when you get objections and things like that, you can say, hey, let me go and plug in and figure out how to handle that objection. And just so you guys know, Matt Smith is one of the #1 all-time producers in Family First Life history. And when I say that, let me just put that into context. Like Family First Life is the largest IMO in the insurance industry. #1 Mutual of Omaha, you know, Americo, AIG, American. I mean, all these companies, John Hancock. So when I say that, Matt may be one of the #1 producers of all time in the insurance industry, right? And so this is going to be some really good stuff. Lean in, take notes, and Matt, I'm going to hit you with the first one, dude.
All right, let's do it.
We'll do phones, and then we'll go to in-home.
I like it.
All right, so phones. You know, Matt, I'm not interested.
No problem. Were you not interested because the price was too high or because you couldn't qualify due to health?
I don't think I can afford it, Matt.
No problem. My job is just to get you this information that you requested in regards to paying off your home if you were to die. I'll make sure to come out with the affordable options and see you and your spouse. What time are you and your spouse home from work?
Typically about 6 o'clock.
Okay, it takes me 10 or 15 minutes to get you this information. I'm going to be there between about 6:30 and 7. Does that sound fair?
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Now you want me to hit the other side? You know, Matt, I don't know if I could qualify. A couple people come out. I've been declined. It's a waste of time. I don't need you coming out.
No problem. These are non-medical options, which you will qualify for. I will verify your health when I get there. And what time are you and your spouse generally home from work?
7 o'clock.
Okay, I'll see you between 7:30 and 8 tomorrow. I squeeze you in about 10 or 15 minutes to get you this information. Just make sure to be ready to answer a few questions about your health when I get there, and I'll let you know what you qualify for.
Perfect. Sweet, dude.
All right. You
All right.
ready for one?
Yeah, hit me.
Okay. I just want the price.
Perfect. Matt, my job is pretty simple. I'm a field underwriter, not a sales rep. So my job is to verify that you're alive and breathing and get you the options that you can qualify for. Our schedule is really behind right now. We've got about 10 to 12 families booked tomorrow. So what I'll do is this for you. I'm going to go ahead and put you down between appointments at 5 o'clock to get the information to you and drop off the options and verify that you are who you say you are and see what we can get you qualified for. So Matt, if you could do me a favor, because we are behind, could you just give me a window between 5 and 6 o'clock tomorrow? Would that be fair enough?
Sounds fair.
All right, cool. All right, let me get you the next one. Next one would be, you know, Matt, I just had somebody come out. We're all taken care of.
So I'm assuming you filled out multiple forms to get the best offer. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. We'll make sure that you get to the best offer as possible. Make sure, what time are you and your spouse home from work?
We typically get in about 5 o'clock.
Okay. And you have a policy in place. So that's what you said, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure to have that policy out. It takes me 10 or 15 minutes to improve that policy. And I'll see you between about, 7:30. Does that sound fair?
That's perfect.
Okay. Sounds great. How about the busy? I'm busy. I'm busy, Paul.
Perfect. Matt, I am as well. In fact, I'm actually getting ready to leave the office right now The purpose of my call was just to set up a time to get the information to you and get back to you. Matt, what time are you typically back in the door Monday through Friday?
7.
7? Okay, perfect. Listen, I don't have time now. What I'll go ahead and do as a courtesy for you, I'm going to put you down at 7:30. I don't have a 7 tomorrow. I'll put you down at 7:30, Matt. I'll have about 5 minutes to get the information dropped off for you. Let me just verify I got the address correct. 123 Buckthorn Avenue. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, Matt, I got you down at 7:30. The only thing I do ask, because of the schedules behind as we are, as I'm sure you could imagine, is if you could give me a window between 7 and 8 tomorrow, just depending on the prior appointments. Is that fair enough?
Sounds fair.
Perfect.
You know what I like about what you did there, which I want to just cover a couple details, is when you confirm like an address, when you're coming back, overcoming an objection on the phone, and they're saying yes, you're now back in control. Because really what we're trying to do here is gain control throughout the entire process. So, I mean, I always learn a lot from you anyways, but I want to point that out to everybody.
Yeah, I think the one thing you'll realize through all the objection handling going back and forth is the person who asks the most questions wins. You know, Matt, funny story is I remember my daughters, I taught them the question game. So, and this was a couple years ago. It was Peyton and Parker. So now Peyton's 13, Parker's 8. This is probably when Peyton was 11, 10, and Parker was like, 5 or 6. And I taught them the game, and so they would play it. It was like you ask a question, you can't answer it with a statement. You have to answer it with a question. So it's whoever asks questions. So, Peyton starts the game off, she says, "Where'd you get your shirt at?" And then usually, because you're trying to focus, Parker says, "Where'd you get your shirt at?" And Peyton's like, "What kind of shoes are those?" Parker's like, "What kind of shoes you got?" They kind of go back and forth. They're just trying to focus on, I need to just ask a question. I can't answer it. And as the game kept going on, the more emotional the questions were, the harder it was not to answer it. And it was just funny how, Parker knew that Peyton had a fight with her best friend. So where she got her, Parker was like, "Well, Peyton, who's your best friend?" And Peyton's like, "Who's your best friend, Parker?" And now she's like playing her game, because Peyton's the older one. And then Parker's like, "Do you think she still thinks you're her best friend as well?" And Payne's like, "Parker, shut up. She's my friend," And she lost. And it just talks about like the power of questions and also the power of what kind of questions you're asking, And I think you're going to hear that a lot in the objection handling is it's going back to the value base of the protection as well. Like, I know this is important to you, to make sure your family's covered. I've got a 6 or 7. And sprinkling that in, that's one thing you could always kind of put in there when you're booking the appointment to overcome the objection is like, "Bob, listen, I know how important this is to you and your family, like most every other family, and we're just running really behind, but I'll do this as a courtesy. I can put you down a 5 or 6. And I think that's such a big deal to get back to answering the questions. I remember one of the first ways, and my next question I got for you is kind of the go-to transition, the pattern interim. What is that for you? Because I think that as you get started, that's an easy way to kind of go to that, collect your thoughts, and then move forward. And for me, I remember, Matt, understanding this concept when I got taught early on about just asking a question, and I got hit with an objection. And I don't know if you feel like this, guys. I know I feel like this. I don't know if you feel like this, Matt, but a lot of times early on when I got an objection, I felt like I was getting pushed back against a wall, dude. Like I was like, the walls were closing in on me. Like I had to fight back. And I came across, it wasn't necessarily that I was saying the wrong words, because, man, I had rehearsed them. But the way I was saying them was that of like, it's I need something from you. Yeah, I'm desperate, defensive, and I never booked an appointment. But I remember just staying cool and calm and then saying, well, Bob, what color car do you have? He said, "Red." I said, "Perfect. I got a 5 or a 7. Man, I booked the appointment. And I was like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. This does work. And I hear most agents, they struggle. They say the right things when it comes to getting over the objection, but they don't follow up the question. So they'll do like, "Hey, I'm leaving the office too, Matt. I don't have time right now. The purpose of my call is to get back to you and get the information to you. I've got a 5 or 6, but they don't say that. They say, "My purpose of my call was just to get a different time set up to get back to you." And they pause.
Yep.
And they think the client's going to close it and say, "Okay, well, perfect, Paul. Come over at 7. It doesn't work that way." They're going to say, "Well, can't you just get," and they're going to hit you with another objection. "Can you give me price? Do you have to?" And it's just boom, 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 boom. But when you end it with the question, that gives you the control, and now you're back in the driver's seat. So I think that's perfect. All right, so the next one, which one do you think, is something you got quite a bit?
New producers, I think they struggle with the "call me back," because maybe you sound like a telemarketer or not, or maybe you did catch them at the wrong time, and they say, "Call me back." and you got to understand you only get one shot of having people on the phone. And, that would be along the lines of, okay, perfect. That's the purpose of my phone call. What time are you and your spouse generally home? And they think that's for calling you back, right? Mm-hmm. And you can say this is in regards to, you always want to confirm what this is about, because they'll forget your opening anyways. And this is in regards to the state regulated life insurance program designed to pay your final expenses. My job is just simply to get you the information. I can squeeze you in for about 10 or 15 minutes between 6 and 6:30 tomorrow. Does that sound fair? Yes. And you quick set appointment versus trying to be a quality set appointment. So at least you're giving yourself the opportunity. I think new people struggle with the callback game a lot in objections. I think that the other thing that's very interesting, Paul, just kind of taking inventory of ourselves, is, you and I have probably not called leads in years, but here we are role playing like we called leads today, if that makes sense. And my biggest scenario for each producer out there is, if you don't have the ability to do the same type of role playing, because I think the phone is the biggest epidemic that we have in this industry. People are just not very good at the phone. So if you get great on the phone, everything else, the money will follow, because you don't have a money problem, you have a people problem. Just need to get in front of more people. But if you can't role play to this extent, it just means you've got to practice a lot more. It means you got to become a lot better at what we do.
I agree.
So there's a big difference between procrastination and proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. But
that was impressive, dude. I gotta be honest. Like, I don't know what just happened to me, but I felt good about it.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. I don't even know what to say. But
that was good.
It's a scenario where, in non-income producing hours, these are things that you need to rep and rehearse and get better at. And that's why the live dials and coming to an office and those certain aspects of what we do are so crucial.
It's everything.
So crucial to people's success.
I think it's everything, man. I think it is. I mean, everybody's got doubt and disbelief. Like, the one thing is this: we're all more alike than we are not alike. The same struggles, the same things that mess us up, trip us up, the same distractions, the same things that will lead us to success, the same habits that'll get. We're all about the same. When you look at the top producers, and we've had an opportunity, which has been great over the years, to interview top producers at some of these meetings, and now there's so many of them, and you get to hear all these commonalities. And man, the ones that do a great job, they're just, when it comes to working, they're nonstop working. They attack the phones. They're on the phones, and they don't stop until their appointments are hit. And they have so much time that's spent, like their cars are rolling university. They're listening to podcasts over and over and over again. And what that's doing is it's also shaping their thought process. So now they're not, thinking like, man, I don't know if I could sell a client that's 75 that's got a big mortgage, which we're going to get into that. That's one of the in-homes I want you to speak to. They stop thinking that because they hear a different point of view. They get different lenses to put on. And if they wear those lenses long enough, now that's how they see that in-home scenario. That's how they see these objections. That's how they see themselves. That's how they see the clients. And so, such a big deal. And, I think, to that point, like with your objection you just said on, I'm too busy. A lot of times what follows that is just a quick hang up. Mm-hmm. Like, you're getting ready to say it, and they just hang up. And for me, what helped me with that was realizing that when they hang up, it's really reflects how they see me. They see me as a telemarketer. Yeah. They see me as somebody that's insignificant, that can't give them anything, that doesn't help them or make a difference for them. They just see me a lot lower than the way I should be seen. And so the first step is understanding that. And so I used to get offended. Yeah. I can't believe they, hung up on me, and like I got rejected, and and I realized that, no, this is an opportunity for me to kind of show who I am to the client. I know my position. I know I'm a top producer. I know that these clients need the help. I know that they sent in a lead. And this is how every one of you should feel this way. You should know your position. You're not mauling. Like I had a guy, and he's like, I was mauling. I would go to the mall and pass out cards like, hey, you want life insurance? You want life insurance? He's like, I was mauling. So this isn't mauling. This isn't, you got the family barbecue, like, hey, cousin Billy, you need some life insurance again? And Billy punches you in the face because it's the fifth time you asked him, and he just wants to fight you now because it's just, you're that annoying. That's not that. You have the upper hand. This client said, I need life insurance. And now, if you're convicted in the service you're providing, the value that it provides, and I would always remind myself, Matt, that this client, when they die, that's the hardest thing anybody can go through is losing somebody, a loved one, like whether that's a spouse or a parent or a child. That's the hardest thing somebody endures as a human being in this life for the most part, is a loss of a loved one. The second hardest thing is a financial devastation, not knowing how to pay bills, not knowing how to provide for the family. When you marry those together, God, what does that look like? And that's what we do. So if I know my position, when I call the client, I can show my position, and then I can grow my position with them, meaning that I'll show them how they should see me. And then throughout every word I say, I'm going to intentionally grow that position. And that's where when I call back and you hang up and I say, hey, Matt, listen real quick, dude. I'm not a telemarketer. I'd rather not be calling you. I'd rather be doing anything but calling you. The only reason I'm giving you a call, Matt, is because you sent in a form wanting information to make sure if you passed away, your family's protected. And I'm not a telemarketer, a sales rep. In fact, I don't really care what you do or don't do with the information. I'm really good at my job because I care about people, which is why I'm giving you a call back. My job is just to get the information to you, Matt, and I'm going to be dispatched out there tomorrow. I could either get the information dropped to you at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock between appointments, which is better. And I think that's where, for one, you can talk like that when you know that what you're providing is much more valuable than the value that you provide when that transaction takes place, as far as I'm getting a plan.
I think one of the key things too, Paul, that you do very well is anything that's scarce, people want. So the reason why, when you dial, you probably didn't get "I'm busy" or whatnot is because you were busier than them. Your pace on the phone was busier. You didn't have a ton of time. You're seeing several families in the area. All those little things matter. So you don't want to be so flexible in your schedule. Like, you do it intentionally. Hey, 7, I don't have a 7, but I got 7:30, because your time is scarce. So how you position yourself, like you're saying, is huge. And then also what I would tell you is, in any business, doesn't matter if this business or any business, your ability to really be a top performer has a lot to do if you're able to take rejection and how quickly you bounce back from that rejection. So for most producers, that get upset about somebody hanging up on them or something, that could derail a whole session and dials, and then the whole mental state is taken off. Other people just brush it off and go to the next one. So which one are you, which wolf are you feeding? So those are important as you start to get on the phone and master the game.
That's good. Have we hit the do you have to come out objection?
I can.
Let's do that. So,
Okay.
So Matt, do you have to come out?
Oh, great. That's a great question. I'd love to be able to not come out, but these are non-medical options, which requires me to ask you a few health questions in person. I'd love to be able to do it on the phone. I'm sure you understand. What time are you and your spouse generally home from work?
About 6 o'clock.
Okay. I won't take too much time. I don't have a 6 available. I'll have a 6 to 6:30, 6:37, somewhere in there. Mark that down on your calendar. I'll see you for about 10 or 15 minutes tomorrow. Does that sound fair?
That's perfect. And see, you didn't give it any merit. You minimized it. And I think oftentimes we grow the objection by trying to have the right words and then over communicating about why I really have to come out. Dude, you just kind of give a very rational answer. It's short, and then I'm sure you understand. Now we're really behind. I can put you 5, 6. So it's not giving any merit. It's minimizing it. And then what you're magnifying or dramatizing is the importance of you getting out there, because it is that important to them, and you are that busy, and you're going out of your way, you're doing them a favor. And I think that's it's the right minimization and the right dramatization that you have in place that leads to the appointment. That's great.
No, I agree. And the biggest thing is for everybody out there, it's like pace, tone, confidence. They can hear it on the phone too, and they're looking for a reason. There's 2 salespeople on each end of that line, and that's how you got to take it, So it's good stuff.
I think also, when you say confidence, I think there might be somebody that says, well, I'm just getting started, so I can't therefore be confident. So that's kind of their approach. And the confidence is not rooted in necessarily how long you've been doing it, your experience, what you're saying. Their confidence should be rooted in the fact that they are a family that need help. You have a license, they don't. And they've raised their hand and already enrolled in the fact that they want protection. Like if all of a sudden I hired you to be, register clerk at Chick-fil-A, do you have to be confident when they come in to sell them a chicken sandwich? No, you don't have to. So your confidence will come. You'll get that through, you'll add to it through experience and hopping on podcasts and learning and growing. But in the beginning, fix all your confidence on the value of what you're offering and the fact that they asked for help. That's what I did.
Yeah, and confidence can come two things. It can come from preparation. Like if you're prepared to dials and you understand what you're up against, you won't have any issues. And it comes to really just keeping your promises to yourself. So the little things of if dial time is all day Monday or whatever it takes to reach the goals, and that's the promise you kept to yourself, then that's how you gain more confidence throughout. Because confidence comes in every form, So you it's not just business, it's personal, it's everything. It bleeds into everything. So keeping your promise to yourself, preparing, that's how you gain confidence in this business.
So do you think confidence on the phone may start when say it's Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, it's dial day, and you said, I'm going to dial at 7:30. Do you think the first step of confidence is actually starting to dial at 7:30?
No, I think the first step on Sunday night is printing your leads, because then you're prepared for 7:30.
Well, I agree, but think about this. When you say I'm going to dial at 7:30 and then you dial at 7:43 and you wonder why you're kind of, it's subconsciously your reputation with yourself is, man, you say you're going to do something and you don't do it. And that lack of dependability, self-accountability, self-dependability, I think that can mess you up. So I think you're exactly right with that.
You know what's crazy is I'm actually getting the chills right now, if you can believe that. Because I'm thinking that when I'm going back to when I first started, and I think about, I used to dial on Saturday mornings when I first started a lot. Love Saturday mornings because I get a hold of people. And I remember Friday nights. It felt like a college football game on Saturday for me. Friday night, I'd be literally jacked up, fired up, nervous, excited. Same emotion, by the way. Depends on how you channel it. And then I would have everything prepared, and I'd go in the office, and I never wanted to dial the first dial. Hated the phone for that reason, right? I had the same, even when I was selling at the top clip or whatever, same feelings, right? But you just remember after you set that first appointment, man, the second one's so much easier than third and fourth, and then that compounding effect takes place. But pretty awesome, man.
So let's do that. We haven't done this objection. Client says, Matt, this week doesn't work. Can you give me a call back next week? Next week is better.
Yeah, is you and your spouse generally home during work this week?
Yeah, we're typically in the door about 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. The good news is it's going to take me 10 or 15 minutes. Doesn't take a ton of time. I can squeeze you in about 5:30 to 6. In fact, set the timer when I get there tomorrow, and we'll get this taken care of. Does that sound fair?
I love that. That's great. And, I think too, like, let me ask you this, Matt. So if they came back and gave you another objection, do you ever just say, okay, and hang up, or do you continue to go?
I continue.
Yeah. So I want to continue this into the in-home.
Okay.
The one thing that I've had, and my biggest struggle was that objection in the beginning. Man, I hated it when they said, can you call me back next week? Because my temptation was to just say, okay, because in my mind, I didn't think I had truly lost it. You know what I mean? Because I have an opportunity next week to possibly still book it. So it wasn't like a true loss, right? Or failure. And then I'd call back next week and they tell me the same thing. And I think that effect on my psyche, it started to weigh on my confidence. And then I would mess up appointments I normally would book because I was chasing. And so guys, to Matt's point, when the way he just overcame that, if they come and hit you with it again, you want to continue to stay on the phone. I can't tell you how many times I booked an appointment and it was like 8th time they kind of hit me with something. And then that's the one where I went to it and I wrote a $300,000 annuity, or I write it for $5,000 AP. Guys, all the time it seemed like that. It wasn't the one that's like, you call them up, oh, you don't have to tell me anything. You're the insurance guy, right? 4 o'clock tomorrow is perfect. I'll see you then. That's not the one. It's usually the one where you go back and forth. And I remember, one of my biggest sales came from a client that said, can you put it back next week? They had all these objections. This week doesn't work. And I said, Matt, listen, I understand being busy. I get it. You know, right now I'm just helping out in the area as a manager because we're so behind, as you could imagine, I'm sure. So the last couple of weeks I've been managing and helping out in different areas, different counties. And so I'm going to put down some notes here to best accommodate you because we are that behind. When are you using the door? And they said 5 o'clock. I said, perfect. I don't have anything at 5 o'clock. In fact, I don't have anything this week available. But Matt, as a courtesy to you, because I'll be out of the county next week, I'm going to go and see if I can move my 7 o'clock to an early appointment. I'm going to put you down at 7. If I can't do that, I'll call you and let you know. But let's just plan on 7 o'clock. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to need to ask you for a window between 6:30 and 7:30 because I'm going to try to make this work for your family because I know it's important. Is that fair enough to give me that window? And it was just funny how they ended up booking it. That was my biggest sell. And they were hitting me where they were like, we can't do it this week, nonstop. But the moment that I kind of took it away from them, built it up, and then represented it to them, they were willing to go ahead and book the appointment, move forward. And I think that's the persistency behind this. Just because they said no the first time you try to go out that objection, it doesn't mean it's necessarily a no. All it means is you need to step back or, relate to them. I understand, build up the value, and then represent, that close, whether that's booking an appointment or closing the deal.
You know what you were better at than the vast majority of people in sales? You know what made you such a great producer?
I'm very interested to hear what you think it is.
Besides everything, but I'll point out what I believe you do really well. You're a great listener, and you have empathy. You even did it on the phone. You did it in the home. And when you're a great listener and you have empathy, what that allows you to do in the house is it allows you to identify the problem. Most producers stay on the surface on whatever lead is filled out, and they don't really ever identify the problem, number one, and then they don't give the right solution to their problem because they haven't identified enough. And what you did, Paul, when you were in sales and why you're so good at it, listening, empathy, identifying problems, and then giving the right solution.
Yeah, I do. And for one, I agree 100% with you because the whole art of it, and knowing exactly what to say and when to say it. I mean, that came from me messing up a lot, listening to podcasts, training, got to listen to you a ton. But what I always stood on was just caring about the client, like in my mind, visualizing this client not coming home tomorrow, what that would look like. And that always gave me a sense of empathy and also put me in a position where I needed to listen because I wanted to help clarify the value and help the client out. And I think if you have that foundation speaking, all this other stuff, as you layer on top of it, it takes you from good to great. Let's go into in-home. Let me ask you this, man. What was the biggest objection that you got in the in-home that you were, as an agent, getting started like, man, I hate it when so many times they give it to you, you're just like, why did they just say that? Because you didn't like dealing with it.
Yeah, I think the most common objection everybody gets in the house is, well, Paul, we don't do anything on the spot, so we're going to need to think about it. And, if we do it, we're definitely going to buy from you, buddy.
And hey, by the way, that is packaged many different ways. I have agents call me like, well, this client, they said that, they just got to check with their kid. I'm like, dude, that's still to think about it.
Yeah.
They can throw a different bow on it or whatever they want to wrap it with, but there's many different forms to think about it. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So my favorite way to overcome think about objection, I can tell you why you get it too, by the way, but to overcome and think about an objection is simple, Paul. I just say, Paul, do you need 2 or 3 days or 3 weeks?
I do just a day or two, Matt. We'll know.
Okay, 95% of the time they say 2 or 3 days, by the way. Yep. So that's good. Paul, is it okay if I ask you some questions that you'll be asking yourself over the next day or two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is this affordable for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand? Are you comfortable with the product?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Yeah.
And are you comfortable with doing business with me as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to need your driver's license. I'm going to ask you some health questions. We're going to see if we can get you qualified then. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Just need your driver's license. Can you go get it? Also the hand motions and stuff, like I need your driver's license.
Yeah, and I think
lead, guide, and direct.
Yeah, but dude, you're doing it with such confidence, and you're not glorifying the objection. You're just logically walking them through it, and then you're going to the close. And see, again, it goes back to how many people.
And you can get layers of that too. You can get layers of, No, we just really need to think about it. Listen, 10 years ago, Paul, this was a rash decision. Right now, you said it was affordable for you. You understand the product. You know you can do business with me. So let's just get it done. It's not going to get any better by you waiting. And this is not, a purchase. This is you're protecting your family.
Yeah.
You're protecting your legacy. This is a completely different scenario. Stop tying it to material things that you've purchased. We're talking about protecting your loved ones' lives. So let's just take care of it now. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It's trial close. Would you agree? Now
let me ask you this: if they say it again, and I'm going to throw you guys a couple because you should have 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like again, going back to the phone script where I kept getting hit it with objections. Those were the best ones. A lot of times when I got the objection 6 times, I'm like, no, I know, we just want to think about it. They'll shift it. We won't even pray about it. And it's the same thing. And you just don't stop until they ask you, man, you got to leave. Like, can you go? Like, I don't get an agent that says, no, I leave on good terms. I never left on good terms. It was very uncomfortable every time I left because I wouldn't stop. It'd be the 9th one. And I know we just need to think about it. I've already given them 8 different, comebacks, but I wouldn't leave until they said, you need to go.
They need to feel you, Paul. They need to feel you. And what I mean by that is it should be an uncomfortable thing. And I think top producers are really good at thriving in uncomfortable environments. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I like to make clients squirm in their chair a little bit. I found a little bit of enjoyment out of it. And I don't mean that in any sort of way. It was part of the process. They need to understand the severity of their situation. They can't afford not to do it. Most of these people are middle Americans with very few assets and very little money. And life insurance is the only thing that's going to save them. They're not going to save their way towards it, So this is the vehicle for their specific situation that makes the most amount of sense, which is crucial.
So what's another one that you would come back? They say, no, Matt, we just really need to think about it. Is there another?
So I'm assuming you're leaning towards doing this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can get you qualified. I just need your driver's license.
I love that. And see, the crazy thing is, dude, think about how long it's been since you've been in that scenario, but it's still that quick.
I know.
Because we put this
Makes
together.
I need a client.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to go out. And I told Sean the other day, I said, dude, I just want to go out and have 10 families to see tomorrow. He's like, man, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, we should do it. He's like, I think you're right. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy sitting down clients and the feeling you get knowing that this isn't peddling carpet. Like, you're literally making a difference. So when you can challenge somebody and then they make a decision that's going to have positive ramifications on their life, that's a big deal. It's a very gratifying thing. Money aside, it's very gratifying, and that's the thing with the think about it. I'll give you guys 2 more and then we'll go to the next one. But for me, it was always not given any merit. So they say, we really need to think about it. I say, perfect, Matt. Absolutely. And the carriers still have to kind of go through qualification and stuff. So that's actually perfect. Which one do you think would make the most sense if they were to qualify you? Like, of these, which one are you thinking would make the most sense? And as weird as it sounds, they'd say, well, I think this one would probably make the most sense. Okay, great. Well, we'll see if we get you qualified here. We could always tweak and adjust later if we need to change the plan or adjust it higher or lower. Grab your driver's license. And what that would get rid of is, I think, by nature, most people are kind of inherently just programmed to say they need to think about something. It's like kind of like the protective thing they put on, they clothe themselves with. It's like the protective wall they build. We just need to think about it. And a lot of times it's not, I think you said it, not an objection, it's a complaint, right? It's just something that they say, and then it's easy just to move right around that. And I think for me, one of the things that I would say at the end, after I'd kind of go back and forth and not give it much merit, would be saying, like, Matt, listen, do you mind if I'm just really kind of upfront and honest with you guys? And I do it just with sincerity, just like that. If it was Bob and Mary, I said, Mary and Bob, listen, at the end of the day, I don't know how comfortable I feel knowing your situation. And again, I'm a field underwriter. To me, what you do or don't do makes no difference to me at all. Not a captive sales rep. But knowing your situation and what's going to happen, Bob, if you don't wake up tomorrow, and Mary, what it's going to look like for you, I think you both would agree. It's one of those things that it's not going to be comfortable making a premium. You're not going to enjoy it. And I can't convince you that you're going to enjoy it, but you can't convince me, Bob, that your family's not the most important thing to you. You just can't do it. I see the way you talk about your wife. I see why I'm here. At the end of the day, I think we'd both agree that this is something that you just need to have in place. And so why don't we go in and see if we get you qualified here? We could always adjust if we need be, but I think you would sleep a lot better. I think you would agree, Bob, that you would sleep a lot better having this in place. So grab your driver's license and see if we get you qualified. And that would be kind of one of my go-tos. But there's many different ways to go through it. Let's go into now. We'll wrap up with this. In fact, let me ask you, Matt, what do you think is another objection most common in home? You deal with agents all the time. Northwest is several million a month in paid business. What do you hear the most from agents right now?
Well, I think it's crucial for you to identify the 5 things you need in every single house, because then you know where you need to improve. The first thing is do they like and trust you? They're buying you. Starts with you. The second thing, that if you don't cover the company as in the carrier and why you're representing America and building value in family first life, giving you the opportunity to represent multiple A-rated insurance companies. Americo's the #1 independent insurance company in the country. They got an A rating. They pay a great track record on paying their death claims. This is why we're choosing. Does that make sense, John and Mary, in your trial closing all the time? Does that make sense, John and Mary? Can you see why this makes financial sense? All those little word tracks add up to wins when they're saying yes and they're nodding their head throughout the process. Then you get to identifying the problem and finding the right solution. That's the third thing. And then you got to make sure it makes logical sense through financial inventory. And you got to make sure you connect with them on an emotional level. That's number 5. So, because if you don't have emotion, there's no urgency, and that's where the think about it usually comes from. So when you don't bring out emotion and you're more of what happens with a lot of agents, they become informational specialists, and they're really good at just giving quotes, but they're really bad at bringing out the emotion. And the fact of the matter is 95% of decisions are based off of emotion. So if you don't bring that out, it's going to be the reason. The interesting thing about those 5 things, though, if you don't do all 5, Paul, if they don't like and trust you, if you don't cover the carrier and companies, the right solution, logical sense, emotion, if you're missing one of those, you miss the sale. So I can go out of a house every single time and say, it didn't make financial sense to, maybe the spouse or whatever, or they didn't like me. Maybe they just didn't like me, or they didn't trust me, or maybe I didn't explain the company or the carrier or the options as much as I should have. Some of the other areas and tips, since we're talking about in-home, is I think it's crucial for you to explain that you do fully underwritten, like traditional life insurance versus simplified issue, and explaining the difference, because it eliminates a lot of the shopping. So, Bob and Mary, I can give you the $10 for $500,000 price that you see on TV. The problem is once we get your height and weight, based off your build, the medication you take, your family history, that's either going to be table rated significantly and affect their ability to get the product that you actually could qualify for, or you're going to get denied. It's going to go on your medical information bureau, and it's on your report for like a bankruptcy almost. So very similar. So John and Mary, can you see why we're going to do simplified issue? We're going to cater towards your budget, make sure it's affordable, and see if you can get qualified. Yes. So now you're not talking about price anymore. You're talking about why you're doing a simplified issue and explaining what exists in the marketplace. That gives people confidence to do business with you, which is a huge element too. One of the things I see, and you were mentioning earlier, is the 75-year-old unhealthy guy.
Yep.
Want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah.
So, $300,000 mortgage or whatever, and he wants a lot of coverage, but he can only, get final expense. I think it's really important for your ability to, kill someone on paper, walk them through the steps of what it's going to look like when they die. So let's say he's 70, I guess. And you paint a picture of, hey, at age 80, you die. And right now your house is worth, $300,000. In 10 years, let's say it's worth $350, somewhere in that neighborhood. You're going to pay down your mortgage, some pay a lot of the interest up front. Maybe you'll owe, $250 at that time, $220, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you have roughly about $130,000 of equity, your legacy in this house. Does that make sense, John and Mary? Yes. Okay. So here's what we can do, and here's why what everybody does based off of your specific circumstances. We're going to put you in place, $30,000 with America for $229 a month. That $30,000 that you're paying $229 on. Now you're not paying $229 for the $30,000. You're paying $229 for the $30,000 plus the 130,000 of equity. So you're tying it in together. You're painting a picture of what it looks like when they die, or you have to paint that picture and put them in that story. Otherwise, there's no value there. And especially with the older clients, like most new producers would do a poor job with that older client that's unhealthy, that can only get final expense. The veteran producers or top producers would take that lead and run it all day and twice on Sunday, simply because those are the clients that buy. They see their mortality more than anybody else. It doesn't matter that the face amounts are smaller. It's about providing the right solution for their specific scenario and giving them confidence. And this is it. This is the fourth quarter planning. I tell people that we're in the fourth quarter now. Now, whether it's the beginning of the fourth quarter or the end of the fourth quarter, or maybe you get lucky and get it overtime, but eventually the game's going to end. And the only thing that matters is you having something in place for your significant other. Does that make sense, John and Mary? Yes. So it's just making sure you paint that picture, and that's crucial as well.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. The scenario that I hated the most was what you just talked about. 77-year-old, $300,000 mortgage.
Sure.
It went from the one I couldn't stand to my favorite client. And it was because exactly what you just said. And a lot of times it's just a different packaging of the same thing. It's $30,000, just like I was offering $30,000 before, but a different package. It makes it that much better, right? And as we wrap up, man, I want everybody to kind of make sure you got what Matt was putting down when it came to, the setup, those 5 things. And success is in the setup. So a lot of times if you're like, man, I want to get better objection handling, maybe the best way to get better is to mitigate the objections you're getting, to have a better setup, because you'll get to a point as you continue to go out there and run through, 30, 40 appointments a week, man, you can get there fast. You see agents like, man, 90 days, they're really good. Well, they're not really that good. They just, in 90 days, they've ran like 1,000 appointments. Where in the last 90 days, you ran 10. Like, how do you can't, like, you might have been more skilled and able to be a 90% close ratio kind of person, but you can't catch the person that's running through that many appointments. They got so many experiences and they've got one appointment by the next to the next appointment. The time between appointments is so small that it eradicates all the doubt, disbelief, and discouragement. Everything that they have, it's a good thing. No sales, this is a good thing. What did I learn? Tweak. They're just moving, and they're able to learn, tweak, adjust, and get better, because the last appointment they left to the next appointment, they're so close together, they can correct fast. And so the success is in the setup. So studying a lot of these top producers, I mean, the crazy thing is, and Matt, like what we used to produce that got us to top 10, like, I don't know if we'd be top 50 now, you know, like we were writing 400,000 or 500,000, we're top producers. And now you got, agents literally doing that in a 6-month period of time.
For sure.
And it just shows you, how expansive. Yeah. And what a beautiful thing that it has for everybody joining the company, where that standard of excellence is set so high for them to go out there and know that, hey, they can absolutely do the same thing. So Matt, thank you for joining, man. I appreciate you hopping on, and man, a lot of value.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, brother.
You too.
All right, guys. Hey, be strong, stay steadfast, make it a big week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Supposed to put these things on too?
Yeah, put those on. Let's make sure we hear each other.
We're sitting next to each other. Why would we not hear each other?
Hello.
Hello? Yes, hello? Is anyone home?
You sound good.
Sound great.
All right. Let's give this a shot.
The Monday morning wake up call. The Monday morning.